Warning. The following podcast contains explicit language, honest opinions and a sense of humor. Welcome to the Brothers Take.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Chris, joined by my brothers Adam.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room to talk once more about video games. And in this week's episode, we are going to be talking about first-person shooters. Because Eric's been playing Cyberpunk lately.
Yes.
And in our last episode, we talked about why they made the choice to make a first-person shooter at all. And he's been playing more of it, and it got us thinking about first-person shooters, the ones that we enjoy, and the ones that we think work.
Like Skyrim, which is first person. So drink if you're still playing that game.
Yeah. We get 5 minutes without mentioning fucking Skyrim. No, we didn't.
If you're still
But
playing
actually,
that drinking game, better buy the whole shop.
Still playing that game, drink along. So, depending on where you're listening to this or watching this, you can, of course, join in on the conversation and talk about your favorite first-person shooter games or any other topic that happens to come up during this episode. So if you're listening to us on audio platforms, you can touch base with us on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take to let us know what is your favorite all-time first-person shooter. And you can also hit follow so you can follow our series as we go along. And if you're watching us on YouTube, first of all, if you enjoy us at any point, maybe give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the series so that you never miss out on a Brothers Take episode. But also, you can jump down into the comment section, which is more important. A discussion is more important than subscriptions. If you want to touch base with us and let us know what your favorite first-person shooter game is or anything else that comes up during the episode. I think it's important to note as well is that the question that has been posed by us and for us is, what is your favorite first-person shooter? Not what is the best first-person shooter. Now, sometimes that could mean the same thing, but, you know, there could be, we're not trying to let everyone know, oh, well, critically speaking, or you know, the world would probably agree that the best first-person shooter is GoldenEye. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about our favorite first-person shooters. We might give some honorable mentions before we get into it too, but that's what we're here to talk about. And so, as you're listening, do touch base. Let us know what your favorite one is as well. I think we might as well just get straight into it. So, without further ado, this is the Brothers Take. Do. What music's that?
I don't know. This is a jingle to add in there.
Can we please add my voice as a jingle? So I suppose this whole this episode kind of springboarded from Eric, you playing Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Despite the rest of the world, you've actually been enjoying it. You've actually cleared the main story since
I cleared it last night. Yes.
Wow. Do you want to give us, now that you've finished it, just before we jump into our favorite first-person shooter games, do you want to give us like your non-spoiler thoughts on the game now that you finished it? Have your thoughts changed on it, or
non-spoiler? So at first I was a bit like, I play a bit like an hour or two, and then I'll play like anything else. So at first I wasn't really getting into it, and then like there were some moments at the start I was like, oh, this is actually really cool, and then pass out again, I'm back into this. But then when the closer I got to the end, the more and more I was like, okay, I gotta play more of this, like definitely more hours, and really was enjoying it. Really enjoying the story interactions, like the character interactions with everybody, and even just taking note of all the lingo that they have for particular, like their slang, I suppose, for things, which just really brings this world to life, and even the different, like noticing different like brands for cars and stuff like that, and then even the different references to things. Like there's one time I was like in some gangster hideout or something, I was shooting some boyos, and I heard some 8-bit tune, and I was like, that sounds familiar, and I turn around and I see this like arcade machine, and it's like an 8-bit brown horse running and jumping almost like a Flappy Bird, or like, you know, that T-Rex game on the internet, you know, when you have
yeah.
It's like that. and it's called like Roach Racer, and it has the Witcher 3 music in 8-bit.
Oh wow.
I was
Great.
like that's really cool. Or there was I think I sent you a video of a guy playing a guitar. Or he's playing a
Yes.
guitar. He was playing like a heavy metal version of the song Beast of Beauclair, which is from the Blood and Wine DLC of The Witcher 3. And it
Cool.
just, when I was watching, I was taking note of the fact that his actual fingers were moving. They weren't just like, oh yeah, here sliding up and down, that's it. Like they were actually playing the different chords and stuff. And if you were strumming one chord, they'd actually stay on that chord until they go to the next one. Which like, so all those little like attention to details were really good. It was
Yeah.
great. And the more I got into the story, the more interesting it became. And even this idea of like, they treat AIs almost like they're new gods. The AI are
cool.
like, yeah, so like at one point you do meet an AI and it's like talking to some benevolent, it's like talking to Dr. Manhattan almost. That kind
Right,
of concept,
right,
like
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
Biggest issue though, right? Gonna have a negative and then fucking crashes. Never mind the glitches. Never mind the
Wait,
glitches.
what? Whoa, hold on. Are you trying to tell me this game crashes?
The glitches are fine. Like I think there was one time I was walking upstairs and I noticed this person just walked out of the stairs. Like just appeared out there. Like those kind of glitches are funny. But it's just like, and they're always at the most like nothing. I walking down the street, crash. I'm fucking buying groceries, crash. The credits are rolling, crash. And it's like when I'm shooting people or doing something really high paced, like really involved, no crashes. And it's like, well, what the fuck is going on here?
You not think that would annoy you more though if it crashed during all like the really intense, awesome moments? Like I think if I had to
Yeah,
crash
no, it would.
anywhere, I'd rather crash while I was buying groceries, probably.
Yeah, but then I
But I hear you.
realized that I haven't saved in the last like 15 half an hour or something, and now I'm back all the way there. So now I have to go all
So
the
it
way up
doesn't
to the
have
grocery
any
shop.
auto saving.
It does have auto saving, but it always crashes when it doesn't auto save.
Oh.
So that's kind of sometimes working me. So
Okay.
I had to find myself saving a lot to ensure that if it does crash, I'm not going back that far. Because
Yeah, that's annoying. That's
It
annoying.
would auto save at the start of the mission and at the end of the mission, and maybe at an update. If the mission's objective updated, it would then auto save.
Or like a key checkpoints kind of thing.
Key checkpoints, that's when it would auto save. Other than that,
Right.
but then another positive is the stunning graphics. Right, I'm gonna
Are
end.
they stunning?
Not really on the people, but I went up to a rock, and it was the best looking rock I have seen ever. I was like, because if you go like from far away, you look at a rock and you're like, wow, that looks really good. But when you go up and you start to really examine, you can always see that like those edges.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have that. It's like proper rock connection.
I feel
detail.
like I feel like
The
this game
environments are beautiful.
from like a few years from now is going to be one of the best looking, like when the PS5 update comes out and when the PC mods all hit it. I'd say this game is going to be just next level. But in its current state, it sounds like it has almost Final Fantasy VII Remake load issues where like some things look amazing and other things just look kind of arse.
That's an apt description. It looks kind of arse.
So yeah, it might be I can't wait when it comes out on PS Plus. It's going to be a bit of a killer game.
That's not gonna happen.
You don't think so?
Way down the line. That's a way.
Yeah,
down
when it's fixed, yeah.
Yeah. Although one thing I liked was
I'll play it before it gets there. Are you kidding me?
one nice thing, which like, because I know a lot of people obviously when Cyberpunk came out and there was such issues, people lost faith with the company and there was so much refunding. I think Norway contacted them and were like, if you don't fix this game,
like all of it.
no, it was the government of some Scandinavian country. I think this could be bullshit, but I think it's a funny story. They contact one, if you don't fix the game within a year, you have to like pay a shit ton of money to somebody. Like they're essentially gonna fucking sue them or something.
Well, they're
like
being
that.
sued. Yeah, they're being sued.
But I like that the one of the head.
Yeah, I watched that video, the apology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he did come out and go, don't blame anyone who made it. They're not at fault. Blame all of us in charge. We're at fault. I was like, that's nice. That's nice you're taking
Yeah,
responsibility.
no, and I think that was a decent gesture for sure. And I know like a lot of people then went straight on, oh, you think an apology is enough? And it's like, oh, well, look, there's not much else they can do at this point. They need to work on it. You know, all they can do at this point is apologize and put the hand up and go, look, I'm not going to blame anyone else. Yes, we released something that we knew wasn't ready, and we did lie about the in particular, wasn't it mainly focused on the console based version, like the PS4 and Xbox One versions of the game, in particular. But I did see an article from one of the developers who was like, as far as I was concerned, this game wasn't going to be ready till 2022.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know. So there was whatever we're obviously not going to be given the full facts in terms of inside something was going on. There was there was disputes, I'd say, happening in house. There was people who wanted a game by a deadline, and then there was people who thought they had all the time in the world to make a game. Maybe I don't know.
But there's that, and then there was also the death threats. Maybe the death threats kind of scared them a bit into going, we have to release it.
Well, that's shocking. People shouldn't send death threats regardless.
Yeah.
So a game that you were really looking forward to has let you down, and it cost you £70, but maybe you got your full refund back. I don't know. Like, there's really no need to threaten anyone over that. Just take your money and I don't know.
No, it was the death threats before they even found out.
It's like, if you don't release this, I'll kill you. Like,
they'll
get them all the time. I'd say, like even Naughty Dog would be used to that kind of shit. And
well, I'm assuming they
what
got
I
a
don't
lot after
understand
that
is,
stuff too.
I just don't understand people that do that. So like, just go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's a bit mad how, like, obviously gamers, they're passionate. We're very passionate about games as well, but and oftentimes they don't fucking mean it either. Like, even the people who
don't go send it though.
You shouldn't. That's the bad thing about having just such easy access to things like Twitter and stuff. It's like, it's dangerous because it doesn't give people enough time. When you're like furious with someone, but by the time you actually see them,
you compose yourself.
Yeah, you're after like kind of like going through it all. Yeah. And then by
you
the
might
time
have said it in your head, or you might have talked out loud even on the way. And,
exactly.
Kill them. And then when you get there, you go, okay, did you send that report or not? Okay, why didn't you send the report? You're not going to tell them, I'll fucking kill you.
The problem is that like now, because everything is so accessible and everyone is within like a couple of tweet reach, like people don't get the opportunity to compose themselves, so they just make an absolute arse of themselves online. And
Well, I think the funny thing about that is though, like the other side of that is obviously yes, there is a case of that where like they can't compose themselves, or they're just so mad caught in the moment and they just type or whatever. But like the people that they're typing at don't owe them anything. It's not like this is their game, you know what I mean? It's not like I signed that contract, I expect this game, where is it, you fuckers? It's not yours until you buy your own copy of it. It's
and
not
even
yours.
at that, it's still not yours. You're actually just buying a license for it.
Yeah, so that's the bit that baffles me. It's not a case of like you're getting onto someone who's actually responsible for something that they owe you.
People just need to chill the fuck out. Calm down. I'm sure there's plenty in your back catalog you still need to clear. So unless you're Eric, of course, he's cleared it. He has everything cleared.
Cleared everything. Yeah. Eric, I'm curious, how does it perform actually? Just given our topic today, how does Cyberpunk perform purely as a first-person shooter game? I know it's more of an RPG, right?
Yeah. Right. So it performs fine when you're doing the first-person shooty parts. Then when it's like doing everything else, it is just a bit like I went through time to craft my character. I'm going through time to choose the clothes this person is wearing. I am like, when you're driving a car, you can drive it in third person, where you can then see yourself and like. I just feel during the first-person shoot parts, it works fine, but I just feel like it would be a better third-person game due to the amount of stuff you can do.
Right, yeah.
Even within the combat sections of things like hacking and sneaking and whatnot. I always find that sneaking is better in a third-person game because you get a better sense of your surroundings. and
I'd agree with
that's
that.
what you need in sneaking, is an idea of the surroundings. And then like it's really stupid if you're making your character and you can't see them.
See them. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
strange to me as well. Yeah, it's a
So-
bizarre choice. I do think when I saw that, and it was a similar thing when I remember seeing the first trailer for, obviously it wasn't the first game in the series, but Deus Ex, was it Human Revolution?
Yeah.
I think was the one that they were showing at the time, and I remember going, wow, that looks amazing. It looks so good. Like the music, the presentation, the designs look fantastic. And then I saw that it was a first-person game that goes into third person for some stealth kills, but then back into first person. And I was like, what? Like, why do this? I don't get it.
So
I don't get
Deus Ex actually does it worse than Cyberpunk. So it's at least Cyberpunk, it's only first person if you are. It's only going to third person when you're in a car. Other than that, it's always first person, right?
Right. Yeah.
But Deus Ex it goes in the third person if you get in the cover. It goes in the third person if you stealth kill someone. It goes in the third person when you climb a ladder. It goes into third person when you're having a conversation. And then you begin to realize, why didn't you just stay as third person when you have so many moments of going into third person?
I don't understand that at all.
Fucking stupid.
I
That
really
really
don't.
turned me. That really turned me off Deus Ex.
I agree.
Because I like the setting and I like some of the game is actually okay, but you know, you get to modify your character and stuff. It's like, you know, why can't I just play this in third person and then just hold, you know, the aim trigger to go into first person to shoot, instead of the other way around where it's constantly in first person and switches to third person when you're doing, like, you know,
Everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I
Strange.
saw that Cyberpunk was going to be the first person, I'm immediately drawn to that game experience, and I'm just like, yeah, that's where I lost interest.
There was one cool thing actually when I was playing Cyberpunk, because when I was making my character, I went, right, I want as least cybernetic appearances on my character, because I was kind of thinking, all right, I'm a nomad, I'm always on the road, I probably have very few cybernetic enhancements. I'm kind of thinking maybe I can go with my guy who wants to have at least, or like go through the transition of going from very human to very machine-like.
Yeah.
And I got what's known as the mantis blades, which have been in a lot of the trailers, the big
Yeah, I've
blades
seen
each
them.
one of the arms. So my arms were always quite human looking, but then the minute I got them, it actually shows all the different robotic cybernetic lines that are going through my arm, which is where my arm would open up for the blades to come in. I was like, that's a nice little feature to have, that there is actually your character does slightly change in that regard. But I still wish it was because of the fact it's a cinematic game.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's a cinematic storytelling game. I still think it should be third person, because most of the best story driven games are third person.
But that's not to say that you can't make very good cinematic first person shooters. And I think the interesting thing is, like, if you stick purely to one style, and they have been done very well, so whether it's a third person game or a first person shooter or an RPG or whatever it is, that there's amazing ways to do it and you can get fantastic experiences in all of those genres. If you try and hybridize it, like trying to hybridize the third person and first person thing, which is kind of what Deus Ex and Cyberpunk do in a little way. Like, I know you don't see your character as much as Cyberpunk, but having to make a character at all is sort of a third person experience, and then not see them. You know, it's sort of like it's kind of like, I think you need to pick and choose which one you're going to do. So I suppose this will kind of lead us on to the first person shooters that we feel stuck to that genre particularly well, if there are favorite games in that genre, right?
Yeah.
So going into this question now, I got to come to you first, Adam. Also, just before we get to it, we very interestingly often have different interpretations of the fucking same question that I usually think is very straightforward, and then it's like, well, what do you mean good morning? Do you think it is a morning to be good on, or do So when I say what is your favorite first person shooter, how did you go about this one there?
Well, I interpret that like, so I wouldn't have put Cyberpunk in that category, although
Right.
that's our starting point. That to me is not a first-person shooter; it's a first-person
RPG. Yeah.
I would agree with
that.
that.
May involve shooting mechanics, but it's not a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Whereas oddly enough, I would put Far Cry in that category. Although kind of similar to Cyberpunk, I still feel like it has more of its mechanics are shooter based to warrant it being a first person shooter.
Mm.
So, but to me, it's like a first person shooter is like that's its thing. That's the main, that's the selling point. There might be things on top of that, but the shooting mechanics is the thing, and you do basically nothing other than just shoot things in it.
Mm.
So in saying that, favorite FPS.
Oh,
I
do you have any honorable mentions before you mention your absolute favorite?
yeah, I would. Doom would be an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Where that's one of the that's probably the best first person shooter I've played in the last generation. So like PS4 up till now.
Yeah.
Xbox One up till now. Like there's nothing that feels as good as Doom when you're like just from a shooting mechanic, I feel. It just goes to show that you don't need the whole. It makes me think back to some of my other games, the other games I really enjoyed, and it's like, why is there a reload? What does that actually offer, right? When you're playing shooter games, right, you never actually run out of ammo. When you think about it.
Well, you're always picking it up, right?
Very oddly, you run out of ammo in the campaign of a first-person shooter. Therefore, why do you reload? Why is there a reload? Because it just puts a pause in the action. So therefore, the reload is to bring in an element of realism.
Yeah.
So therefore, those type of games I think should be a lot more military simulation. Whereas something like Doom is obviously not. You're a fucking, space marine basically, slaying demons from hell. Doesn't need to be realistic. Therefore, there is no reload. And it just keeps it. At no point does the action slow down. Then you're just constantly moving and shooting. You
and
do
it's
run
got
out
one of the
ammo.
most bitchin' soundtracks ever.
Well, it's
That
definitely
helps.
what you want to be listening to. All right, when you're
first
slaying
person shooting
demons from hell, and but just everything about it, it's just so weird that game feels like it came from the 90s or something. Like it feels really fast and fluid, and like the way it moves. I'm kind of like, oh, I'd love to see Serious Sam done like this,
Probably will.
Probably. That's another one. Serious
That's yeah, I was gonna say that's
so
a
good.
bitchin' game.
That was so
You're
good.
on PC and you type in like the codes and everything.
Yeah.
Like
that was one that you could switch to third person as well.
Yeah.
See him pull a Gatling gun out of his back pocket.
Or the pirate cannon.
Yeah. There were some really cool weapons in that game, actually.
Yeah.
But I remember getting there was like so many demons appearing on screen at once that the frame rate would just drop to like 8 frames a second or something like that, and it's just like I don't know how anyone really kind of got through that game without like we played it with like kind of cheat codes and stuff, so you could put on God mode and infinite ammo and have a ball. But like how anyone got through that? It's like is the amount of enemies on screen and the way the frame rates drop dramatically.
Yeah, because I think there's one bit I remember specifically because I used to love it in Serious Sam. You were in this like giant like open tunnel, so it's just two walls either side of you going for a mile.
That's the bit I'm remembering. And it's like the skeleton looking things.
The skeleton with the two boars or the two bulls. Yeah. And you just like a feeder, like there was like one first, and there was like 2, and then 5, and then 10, and then there was just a fucking 100 of them just running at you.
And do you remember the kamikaze headless men to scream at you?
They scare the shit out of me. Yeah.
They still do. Because I was playing one on PS3 the one time, and I was running, and then I heard the and I was like, oh fuck, where are they? Oh shit.
And the weapons were satisfying in that one too, as well, like for
sure
the shotgun and stuff. But it is straight up. That's just Doom mixed with Duke Nukem, basically.
Oh, essentially, yeah, yeah. It's like the
Yeah.
love child of those two games, and
Yeah.
it's just as fun as either of them, really. To be honest,
Yeah.
you know, it is.
I have to mention Halo. Um,
You have to. He's actually under contract.
yeah, have to. It'd just be odd not to. I just think Halo is, well, apart from it really changing FPS after it, basically, it is definitely the best multiplayer shooter experience. I know people would say GoldenEye, but I think there's a lot of nostalgia in there. You could genuinely play Halo and still have a lot of fun. People today are still playing Halo 2 online due to the Master Chief Collection and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the same game. They haven't actually changed anything. There's minor tweaks in it, but it is the same game. They just put a skin over it all. They didn't rebuild it.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
just put
Remastered.
It's not even remastered. What they did was they put a texture map over everything.
All right.
That's why you're able to switch between the two versions, because all you're doing is just turning it off.
Oh, it's like a filter then.
It's a filter, but it's the
Right,
exact same game. So it plays exactly the same, and it just goes to show that it really holds up. It looks like a remaster, but it's not. Then I would say any other honorable mentions. Trying to think. No, I think that's all the honorable mentions. I'd say it's Doom and, well, maybe Medal of Honor Frontline.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was
World War
probably,
II, right?
yeah, that was a game that, I've always really hated first-person shooter games. I never really enjoyed playing them. But because when that game came out was the time of Saving Private Ryan, and we grew up right beside the film set of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a good year, my playground was the Omaha Beach, basically. We used to play in the actual pillbox, and then watching the film and stuff like that, which I was definitely too young to watch. But it was, getting the Medal of Honor Frontline was being able to kind of replay those scenes, and it was probably the first Medal of Honor to kind of go a bit cinematic without it being cinematic, because it still had the classic kind of way of a Medal of Honor game playing, and I always loved the kind of briefing room, and you'd have that. There's a particular kind of American voice over telling you the mission brief, and it's all these really old clips, and then you would go do these quite simple tasks, which is disable a U-boat or something like that. But yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed that game, and I didn't really like any other first-person game after that until I got to play my favorite one.
Which is.
Or
will I go? Or should I do honorable mentions all around first?
Yeah, you can do if you want.
See, does one creep up? Because if it's the same one, then we might as well wait and talk about it at the end and go, okay, let's do a dedicated episode on that then, And if it's not, we'll see. I have a feeling that it is so. Yeah. Eric, do you want to give any honorable mentions for first-person shooters that you'd consider quite in high regard for you before we get to favorite? How did you interpret the question?
All right. Well, see, no, favorite is easy to interpret. I think it was the best that you could interpret differently, or it was.
What? I never asked you for the best. Never.
No, I remember you did ask Adam a question. What was the best game for a non-gamer? I think me and Adam had 3 different ways to interpret. Yeah, we had 3 different ways to interpret that question.
Yeah.
And you were like, "What?"
I'll give it. Yeah. I was like, "What?" I thought this was simple. If someone didn't read fantasy books and didn't know where to start, which one would you give them?
Well, it depends on their age now, wouldn't it?
Anyway,
how
did you interpret this question first of all?
Well, the honorable mention would be more because I know Adam mentioned Far Cry, but more specifically Far Cry 3, as I found that one really redefined what you could do in a first-person game. Based on because I found for like a few years, first-person shooters became very stale. It was either you can crouch and aim down your iron sight, or you run around like a fool just using your crosshairs, and that was kind of it. There was essentially the only two versions of. And then Far Cry came along, and not only was it open world, you were able to like jump on someone with your knife, stab them, take out their knife, throw it into somebody, then shoot, and it was just so fluid with all this. Like I remember one time I went up behind someone, I stabbed them, took out their knife, chucked it into someone, pulled out my gun, shot someone else, pulled the guy's grenade that I was still holding, kicked him into someone else, and he blew up, and then I just went along shooting everyone else. Like, and it was just way more like cinematic.
Yeah.
Like,
is that the one where I mix
Very
up
John
some
Wicky,
Far Cry games, but is that
the one where you're on the island, it's got all the drugs.
Yeah,
that's the famous one.
That's the famous one.
Spoiler alert, you have to torture your brother?
Yes.
At one point, it is that one, isn't it? Yeah, I did play that one. It was really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Then I think they all went stale because they went, oh, that did well. Let's just repeat that.
Every villain is a psychopath on an island.
Let's do that again.
Everyone's a psychopath obsessed with drugs.
The funny thing about that is, you say, let's do that again. What's the famous quote from Far Cry 3?
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah. So stop doing the same thing over and over again.
But
like that
everyone keeps
Darth
buying
Sidious ironic quote could go well in there.
Although, I suppose they don't want a different result. They're selling well each time, so yeah. Actually keep doing what you're doing.
But that would be insane.
I actually really liked the new Call of Duty. Well, not the new one, the World War II one. I actually quite liked.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was just called World War II.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was just the graphics and everything. I think the graphics were really good. I didn't really like the fact that I couldn't. You only played as Americans, and I was a bit like, I kind of like playing as other people and having other perspectives.
There was only Americans in World War II.
Oh, was there?
Don't you know they won the war?
Oh, right. No, but I really like that story gets very, very personal rather than most of the time for a Call of Duty game. It's just, oh, we got to stop the bad guys because they're bad guys doing bad guy things. That's kind of it. Like, this becomes a really personal kind of AWOL story, which is quite nice. The first Call of Duty actually is class because I remember I got that with
the classic one.
Yeah, that was cool because they had Captain Price in it, who had the exact same mustache as Captain Price from.
Yeah.
It's
cool callback.
There are a lot of like cool shit.
Do you like the wedge of fucking Call of Duty?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Or Sid.
Oh, I was like, wedge, that's a formation. What's he talking about? I didn't realize you meant things in wedge.
You're like, wedge, that's a type of potato. What's he talking about?
Potatoes, Irish. Like, I mean, there's a few good. I mean, Adam named most of the good ones, like Doom and Serious Sam, and they're really fun.
Yeah, but like your honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I wasn't just naming the world's best first persons or anything. They're just some of my favorite ones.
A lot of people would probably say there's loads missing.
Probably. What is missing?
I don't know. It's whatever your favorite games would be. I don't.
How did you narrow down to your favorite? Like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just the first one that popped in my head, and then I went, "Oh, there's a sequel to that." So I'm still having to kind of work between.
One
of them is an honorable mention.
Well, one of them is an honorable mention.
I haven't decided which one's my favorite yet.
It all depends on what you say, Chris. Yeah.
Okay, so
man.
Okay, so this could just go that way for the rest of the episode. I think it's going. I think it's going. Anyway, so for me, first of all, in terms of the question, I regard a first-person shooter as, yes, primarily a shooter game in first person, and not so. Obviously, there's lots of first-person games. Like, for example, I would not in any way regard Resident Evil 7 as a first-person shooter, even though there's shooting mechanics and it's a first-person game. That is a first-person survival horror game, you know.
Yeah.
So I just thought about that at first because I was like, okay, well, if you were including first-person games, it's a different thing. right?
Yeah.
You're including the likes of PT and anything that's in first person.
And Firewatch, that's actually a great game as a
Yeah,
first person
but
game.
that's a totally different. So, first person games, perspective games, that's a whole different thing. This is purely first person shooters. At least that's what I think it is. So there was really, I knew what my favorite one was, really, and then there was two others that I felt that I ought to consider. So I would regard them as honorable mentions. One of them is Doom, because it's just it kind of encapsulates everything that I feel like if you say first person shooter, it's nuts, like it's just fucking crazy. And
It's
I think as
almost the
well,
poster child for that.
it really
Yeah,
is. And
yeah.
I think as well, if you're in any way a fan of metal as a genre of music, it is hard not to see the appeal of Doom. Not even just for the soundtrack, just everything about it is so metal. The scenery, the enemies, the energy. It's like playing a fucking mosh pit. Like, you know what I mean? It's pure insanity. It's crazy. And I think as well, if someone doesn't get the appeal of, like, if you've ever watched a clip of, say, a mosh pit and you're like, I don't get it. How could people enjoy that? Because I've heard that comment many, many a time. Play Doom. And you will understand. It's that kind of adrenaline, it's nuts, like. The other one then, which came a bit closer for me personally, is Modern Warfare 2. I love that game. I do recognize that it's silly, and it is silly. It's ludicrous, like the Russia going in and invading suburban areas of America. It's so command and conquer. It's nuts, like, it's like it really probably wouldn't go that way. You wouldn't be running around, burger places shooting the Russians off the roof.
It's like how did they even get close enough? Like,
yeah, like this would be totally missiles at each other if the two nations were at war. It wouldn't be infantry on land, but it's more cinematic and it's more fun this way. So, would it be fun to just shoot missiles at each other? No, that's a battleships game. That's not a. So, putting the silliness aside, like, the Hans Zimmer's score in it is incredible.
yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
General Shepard, I've talked about him before. He's a villain that really got me, and I was like, I'm gonna kill you. And it's fantastic when you do. Mm-hmm. I think the airport sequence was at its time bold. Bolder things have been done now in gaming, I think, but at the time it was really bold, and so much so that they had to put in you can skip this if you want to, because we know where it's a bit. It was like, I don't know. It was a time when Call of Duty was controversial. You know what I mean? It was like.
Well, I remember, like, I played that bit recently-ish, like when it got remastered or something.
That's right. Yeah.
So I did play that bit, and then I was like, you know what? Thank God to all these couples and families that are all going on holidays in this airport who don't have children. Can you imagine how much worse it would have been if they actually had, like, children as well in the?
Yeah,
because it's pretty horrific.
I think that is like, I suppose in storyline you would imagine there probably are kids at that airport,
and no one's old either.
But in gameplay, it's already rough enough. I think that's probably a developer decision not to have you mow down kids. Like, it's you're already.
It's a good.
Hold
scene.
on, honorable mention, BioShock games.
Hold on, whoa! I'm still on Modern Warfare.
I'm sorry. I just.
You had your go.
I'm sorry. Just you mentioned the children thingy, that I remember the daughter thingies in BioShock. I'm sorry. All right. Okay.
We can go to BioShock in a minute. All right. I'm in the middle of a really awesome scene here. But I think in particular the fact that, like, that moment is one of the first times I've played a first-person shooter where the thing you're shooting isn't shooting back, and that's the uncomfortable part about it. You're just mowing down innocent people, and it's like, this is really messed up. And then as well, the plot part of that, which is you're actually an undercover CIA agent, so it's like,
yeah, that's the most.
How far are you willing to go?
You kind of have a feeling that, like, although this is fictional, in reality, stuff like this likely happens, not to the same extent, like, not to the same cinematic fucking Michael Bay aesthetic, but innocent people do die in service of a mission, and it puts you in that perspective. And it's nice when games can kind of enter this kind of philosophical area without it without it actually in your face. So here's a question. What do you think? You know, it's like all of a sudden it's like you as the player kind of stop for a moment. And some people won't. Some people just like go, yeah, whatever. Like it's just a game, and they just mow through it, and that's fine. And it's nice that like, you know, different people would have different reactions to that scene, and some people miss it entirely.
But I think I remember as well that game had like me and my friends, we were all playing it. You know, like everyone was playing it at the time. You know, so it had a big impact, I think. And even I remember we were going to we all went to Edinburgh for sort of like a lads' holiday, and we actually all drove. Danny's dad drove us all up, and he had a camper van, which was great because we were all able to like sit at a table and play cards on the way up and everything, and like it was like this is way better than getting like the Dublin bus or whatever, you know. And when we got there, there was one of our friends, Kavanagh. He tends to be very quiet a lot of the time, and he hadn't said much on the journey up. But as soon as we got there and the back doors open, he just turned to remember, no Russian. It was just like
It's a very it is a quotable moment.
It's a quotable moment, yeah. But yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, it took me a few moments to actually understand why the villain says that.
Oh right, yeah. It's cleverly put together. And it's just it's a cinematic game. I had a great time playing it. So it was close, but the other one wins out for me. Eric, do you want to talk a bit about BioShock before we get to the favorite?
I was just saying it's an honorable mention because
that's it.
I really wasn't wanting to interrupt. I was just saying that those games are very good games.
Anyone in particular?
I'm going to say the first one.
Yeah, the first one's excellent, and then I would. I do BioShock Infinite to the second one.
And then the second one, because the second one is just very. Let's do the first one, but
again,
now you're a big daddy. Oh look, it's a bit like this is a sequel, and we're not really going any forward.
I'd agree.
Like the whole dual wielding concept, but no, the first one based on its twist, because it's very rare you come across a first person shooter with a very captivatingly amazing twist.
You see, here's the thing though, and I suppose the reason that didn't get any honorable mentions for me, I don't think I class BioShock as a first person shooter.
Hey, you shouldn't me? That's all you do.
Yeah, I would.
I don't know.
I would, but it's like, you know, because there are first person, like there's magic elements in it as well. But yeah, there is a lot of shooting in it, and whether you're shooting with a gun or shooting with magic, I think it doesn't really matter. Yeah. There are a lot of story moments, but I would still classify as a first person shooter.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, I would nearly put it in the horror survival genre.
It's a bit like Far Cry, really, in terms of you know, the amount mechanics, of shooting you do and stuff like that. But yeah, like that was, I can't really think of another first-person shooter that would have the level of kind of world building in its level design and just the environment design.
Yeah,
it's an absolutely breathtaking game. Not that like the graphics are any good, but it's more to do with the way
the stylization and the lighting and everything for it.
Well, I'm always blown away in the presentation of that first moment you see Rapture.
Yeah, and like
it's incredible. And same again with Colorado actually.
Or Colombia.
Colorado. Colombia. It's done. It's just done really, really well. Like the setup to the presentation of that is done really, really well.
Yeah, I would say there's too many shooting moments in BioShock Infinite, and they should have like toned that way the fuck down.
And I think maybe that's what it is for me. Maybe it's not a case of that it's not a first-person shooter. Like obviously it's a first-person, and obviously they're shooting in it, right? So it's like well, what do you expect from a first-person shooter? You know?
Yeah.
But I think
you'd rather it wasn't.
I think I would rather it wasn't.
Yeah,
I think everything I like about those games is not the shooting.
It's not a very good first-person shooter.
Exactly, which is why for me it's not. Yeah, I don't class it as a
very good narrative-driven experience.
I think of it more as horror survival.
Yeah.
Which is why I fall personally, but I can see why anyone
shooting on it.
Oh, it does, yeah, I know. I think you could say either or. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like, is it clear what it actually is? Like,
Either
What
way,
do they call it? An action adventure
for me, they
first
would
person
be
shooter?
for me. BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite would be honorable mentions, as they would be classified as a first person shooter, and I thought they were really good. But fuck me, don't fucking do time travel.
Eric hates time travel.
I hate when they just.
I love time travel.
I don't mind time travel if it was like, oh, this thing happened in the past and it was a bad thing, and then it led to all these events, and then it turns out that you went back in time and you caused that event, and I don't mind that. That's fine. It's when it's like we have this giant engine machine we gotta move. Oh well, how about I open up this?
I love it. I love it.
To a time when it was
how did
there.
they move it at all? That's always how they moved.
That's great. Yeah, it's great.
I love it. I love it. Why don't we just skip time to the point where we had moved it? It's like, yeah, but how did you move it? By skipping time to the point where we moved it.
It's absolutely fantastic.
I love it. I love it so much.
That really made me go, what the fucking shit?
Yeah, it's the same as the whole, it's like the Skynet thing where it's like, oh, we made the Terminators by them coming back in time to yeah, but how did they come back in time? Because we made them. But how did you make them? Because they came back in time.
Yeah.
No, see, that one
it's an infinite loop.
I don't mind that one.
Right. It's the same thing, though, isn't it?
Same thing. Yeah, it is.
Essentially.
Because there is still some level of tracing to it.
Ray tracing.
So even though there's a loop, it's still a level of, okay, well, there's still the process of us going through making it to then it going back in time, right? But for BioShock, we're obviously, you know what I'm talking about. It's that fucking gun machine that you have to send to the Vox Populi rebels in Colombia.
Yeah.
But there's no point. There's no process of them actually moving it because they could not move it.
They did, though. They moved it through time.
They couldn't because that's the whole point. We can't move this. Let's just go forward time.
Well, why don't we just skip to the point when we've already moved it?
But they never moved it. They couldn't move it. That was the problem.
It's genius. It's genius.
I think
it's what a great way of writing a solution to a problem as well.
Oh yeah.
Just go. Why don't we just have a fix-em-all?
Yeah. It's a good way of using the time travel thing. Yeah. I like when time travel is used in a scenario that is not expected. And that'd be one of them.
Yeah.
Another one would be like the end of Infinity War. That was a moment where I was like, I completely forgot he had that stone.
Yeah, same. I was like, oh my god, that's genius.
As well, what's lovely about that? Not to we go off on. I fell in love with Infinity War like the first time I watched it, and I still to this day I do think it's the best MCU movie. But like what the Russo brothers and the writers on that did such a fantastic job of balancing so many things, but they realized they could actually have their cake and eat it too. They could have this beautiful send-off sacrifice moment between Scarlet Witch and Vision.
Yeah.
And they could also have Thanos screw everyone over.
Yeah.
They were able to
it's great, yeah.
About really well.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic because I was like, wow, this is like really touching what Vision just did, and then it blows up and it's beautiful music and it swells, and she has just done the hardest thing she could have ever done.
Yeah. I think the moment that sells that for me, because I remember seeing it in cinema, and the moment that sells that for me is like when you don't see that Thanos is like moved at all by that. Like he's not disappointed, he's not angry, he's nothing. I'm like, what's up? And then and then he uses the stone. I'm like, oh my god.
I love his just the lines building up to it, because it's the first time he says like, this is no time to mourn, and you're like, that's kind of nice that he's like, it's okay, and kind of pets her head like she's some sort of dog or something. And then he goes, in fact, this is no time at all. And it's like, oh no, man, oh damn it. And then he starts doing the fucking so good.
So yeah, I love when time travel is it's a great well, not utilized correctly, just utilized in a way that we haven't seen yet, because it can be a trope a bit, and written kind of like the usual kind of Back to the Future kind of manner. Yeah. But my favorites would be the likes of the Terminator and stuff like that. That's my favorite ways of implementing like a time travel mechanic, and I think the BioShock Infinite did a really good job with it.
I think they did as well. Also, we actually did a whole episode on time travel in video games.
Yeah.
So if you watch this on YouTube, actually, I'll throw it down in the end as one of the recommended videos to watch. And then I can't remember which number it was. If you're on audio, you can scroll back, but it has time travel in the title. You won't miss it. But just if this particular part of this conversation has interested you, maybe it's worth going back and listening to that, because we focus totally on time travel, and we talked about Tenet as well. Was the movie at the time that inspired the conversation. But back to the first-person shooter. What kind of a name is Soap anyway? I take it our favorite first-person shooter is the same. Because if it's not, I'm shocked that this one wasn't your honorable mention.
Yeah. Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare?
Oh, I thought we were about to do a joke there. Okay, yeah. COD 4.
Oh, yeah. Remember we rehearsed the joke that we were going to do? Remember when we rehearsed this episode before we started recording?
No, but remember the way that we're all really good at improvising jokes.
Are we? Are we?
Yeah.
I think some of us are. No, but yes, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. So we'll spend the rest of the episode talking about that. I'm just gonna say I absolutely hated first-person shooters when I was younger, and this is the game that changed my mind. Not that I love them, like they're not my favorite genre of games. I do like first-person shooter games. I didn't even like first-person perspective games. Anything in first-person, I hated. Yeah. So I credit this game as opening that door, because now I like it as a perspective, and in some games I think, oh, it's the right way to do it actually. And other games, not so much. But I remember, like, when I was younger, my friends were really into the Killzone series. That was huge during the PS2 era. Like, massive.
I could never get into Killzone.
I couldn't get into it. And I know people really liked that. I know, like, the shape of the futuristic guns, or, like, the way they... Like, people were obsessed with the way they loaded. Everyone was obsessed with, like, it loads, like, at the back or something. And it's like, what's so fucking cool about that? Like, or the Hellgas designs. Like, people just love these guys.
Oh, yeah. I know. In fairness, actually, the Hellgas were a really cool design.
They're pretty cool, but I couldn't get into the game.
Space Nazis.
Yeah. I just couldn't get into it. And I just couldn't. I was so obsessed with Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy and Devil May Cry at the time. I was into these really character-driven, story-heavy games that when it came to first-person shooters, I just didn't see that. And then I just saw, for me, clunky, awkward controls. Really, I was just really shit at controlling the camera at the same time as moving. I mean, obviously that became the future of games, because that's what. But there was a point where camera was fixed. You didn't use it. You just used directional buttons. You know, when I first started off playing, and so it was really just a learning curve that I just hadn't got over, and that I was just like, what the fuck? Now I'm in a corner, and everywhere I turn, and it turns out I'm looking up, but I don't know. And everywhere I look is just walls, but it's actually just the ceiling. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And the guys kept killing me in like, you know, versus modes. And I was like, oh, this is stupid. This is no fun. I don't like it. It's just I was shit at it. Call of Duty 4 then like opened up my eyes to like what they can be. And then I gave other first-person shooters a chance. And I realized, they're actually really good if you just play the fucking game. But that one in particular, though, did something special for me.
Yeah.
And it was the cinematic quality along with a believability.
But I do think as well, like, apart from just, you know, obviously it is a much more cinematic game. It's the equivalent of a Ridley Scott kind of military movie. Whereas I'd say the second one is more of a Michael Bay one. They really did like improve upon the shoot mechanics as well, though. Like, they fucking like each gun felt unique and different and had a punch to it, and the aiming
really
felt
makes
great.
You feel like a soldier. You know?
It fucking did make you feel like a soldier. It did.
It did. That game was doing that kind of shit long before Rocksteady came along.
Yeah. And the multiplayer. My God, the multiplayer was legendary.
Yeah.
Absolutely legendary.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
I don't know anyone who didn't dabble in that multiplayer when they had that game, because the multiplayer didn't necessarily, like, a lot of multiplayer is like a tacked on experience, whereas that was one that had like level progression, and you unlock weapons and you get better, and you had in each match you could unlock like the AC-130 as an unlockable and stuff like that. So you were always trying to work to it. You get 5 kills in a row, you can get to unlock that, and it's like it gave you a goal per match as opposed to just the overall just win the game.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember really enjoying playing the multiplayer, and again, like in stark contrast to when I was used to play Killzone with my friends and just didn't enjoy it at all, versus essentially doing the same thing, like on a map trying to kill each other, but really enjoying it and really getting into like looking for the best places on the map to kind of hide out. Or you used to play a mode where you only knife each other.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was always
good.
fun.
You have just in a panic to like get people in corners.
You always have
and
to
stuff.
unlock that perk though. You know the one where you drop a grenade when you're down.
Yes, yeah. And if you get caught by that, then you're like, oh, you fucker. Yeah.
In COD 4's multiplayer, there was no if you're doing local multiplayer, there was no progression. They only introduced that in Modern Warfare 2. So therefore, I think you have to pick the right class or something to get that grenade perk.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But you get that, and then you also do like. Do you ever do the one where you have the shotguns and you do the ragdoll? So when you shoot each other, you like fly across the map like a ragdoll. That was a good one as well.
There was always names on those, wasn't there? People that had like they would name those modes. And it just went around. Then I can't remember. But I think as well the game, the moment that sold it for me. Not only did I think the characters were actually really good, like I really liked, and the dialogue was good between like Price and Gaz, and they were very believable and awesome characters. But like, so you start off doing a little training mission. I'm not sold yet. I don't know why everyone's obsessed with this game. One of your first missions though, like, and onboarding is very important for me in terms of whether I'll stick with a game or not. That ship mission, the tanker.
Yeah, it's like
awesome.
It's like I really liked SOCOM on the PS2.
Yeah, it's like that.
But it was like that mixed with like the tanker mission of MGS2 as well. Like it just the level of coordination, and you genuinely felt like you were working with a team. Like it just shows to show how like well written the non-playable characters were.
Yeah.
And you could literally go anywhere. Like you didn't have to follow them and follow their order really.
No.
But you couldn't help but do it because it just makes such a great moment. When they're there waiting to breach the door.
The silencer on the gun as well, and killing the guys who are stumbling along on the ship, before you get into the heat of it. Like that was so cool. It was like literally going in to do like a stealth mission. We're gonna get what we need to get and get out of here as quick as we can. And then the ship starts sinking and you're running away from the water. Like all of that was just so fucking cool. And then you have that sequence where you play through the eyes of a president gets killed on live television, and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck? And all you can do is look around at sets up your villain then. So you've set up your heroes
with the credits.
Yeah.
That's
the thing. That's what roped me in. It was like that cinematic quality of like they've set up your heroes. Now let's set up the villains and see what you're up against. And of course later on you have the infamous nuke sequence.
The kind of Black Hawk Down moment.
And hell, I am talking about this obviously in a way that I'm hoping the listener has played this game. We're talking first-person shooters, and I feel like if you've missed out on this one, like you need
where
to
have you been?
Yeah, because when I was growing up, obviously for me it was like, Call of Duty 4 is the best one based on its cinematic presentation. It graphically massively improved how to play a first-person game. The whole aiming down the iron sights, because not a lot of first-person games even did that and stuff. Sprinting, character interactions, and all that. And obviously, the opening credits and stuff. But I feel like a lot of people of my generation just didn't play that one. So for them, World at War was the best one. I was like, no, what are you talking about? World War's not the...
World at War was good, but I felt like, you see, going back to play Modern Warfare, I do think it kind of holds up, but it is stuck in a time period where there was like this usual kind of um, the checkpoints, the way checkpoints worked. They normally were like, it's not that you kill everyone that's there and move on. You have to push forward to the next bit, otherwise people keep spawning, right? That was one thing I never really liked about Modern Warfare, because you can't actually play it like a milsim game, although it's trying to be that way, which is probably why the series went a little bit more action movie based, like with the sequels and stuff. But I would always want to play it a little bit more military simulation, but you can't really do that because it's like, how many people are here that we're fighting? Like, this is a ridiculous number of people. I feel like World at War takes that to like the absolute extreme. There's like just when you're playing like Drake's Fortune and you're like shooting all, it's like, how many fucking pirates do they have?
Yeah, and it's a complaint I would have.
World at War is like that, where it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, they just keep coming. If I just stay here, there's going to be thousands of these guys just constantly coming until I move up there, and then they stop coming. And there's a lot more of that. Like, again, kind of going back to like with the BioShock thing, first person shooters are great, but there's only so much shooting before it becomes boring.
Yeah.
There are, like, you kind of need to change the dress settings a bit, or the set dressings a bit, and change the like, the mechanics up a little bit. And I think Modern Warfare, the first one, did a good job with that, because I think the USMC sequences got pretty boring. A lot of them were.
Yeah, I definitely preferred the SAS sequences.
But there wasn't that many of them, so that was fine.
Yeah.
The Americans are only in the first act anyway. So when they get nuked,
World at War, I think,
gone.
kind of has moments that overstay their welcome a little bit. Although, great game. Like, some of the best moments in World at War are the Russian side of things.
Yeah.
And
No, but
it was a nice change to see, being a Russian.
Yeah.
In the war.
Yep.
The thing was that, like, they loved World at War because, first of all, it was World War II. I think the second thing was they never played COD 4 at all, so they couldn't actually comment, even though they weren't going to admit that they never played it. They just were like, no, World War is better. And then, Nazi zombies, which became so fucking stale so quickly. Which is why
I agree. I never really got into the whole Nazi zombie thing. I think it is a pretty cool mode. It's a pretty cool addition.
Yeah.
Right?
That's all it should be.
But when it became the selling point of games after a while, and it seemed like there was nearly more focus on making new zombie maps rather than actually making a good, solid
good game. Yeah.
That's when I was like, I couldn't care less where the series is going. Like,
that was the battle royale of the day. That was that generation's Fortnite.
Yeah, it really was. It really was.
Yeah,
like a lot of people loved it. I think there was probably the online multiplayer aspect of, and it didn't matter that it didn't have to be a Call of Duty game. You see, that's the thing about the zombie mode. It just was the fun thing of, I suppose, was let's be in a shack together, board it up, and see how many waves we survive.
Yep.
So that's its own thing. But for me, it just didn't really belong in a Call of Duty game. Do you know what I mean? And it became weird that it started to define Call of Duty games after that. That was the weird.
Yeah, I think it was grand for World at War. Like that kind of
Nazi zombies. Cool.
The mythos around the Nazis wanting to have an army of the dead and stuff like that, and having that World War II creepy. But it did overstay its welcome, especially with the whole like, oh, now you gotta turn on the power. Now go to Pack-a-Punch, and now that's pretty much it. Now let's see how long. And it's just like every single one of them was that. And they all
did prolong the like kind of playability of that game quite a lot, because I do know people who couldn't wait for the next multiplayer map pack to see which Nazi map was there, and it did add new features every time, and that's kind of like a commonplace thing now that you experience. Where I started to get sick of the Nazi zombies thing is, it's not Nazi zombies anymore, it's just zombies mode. It's still here to this day, pretty much. You know, and like some of the latest Call of Duty still have it. It's like here.
Yeah, I thought it was cool in that game.
Yeah. I didn't mind it so much in
carried over
in Black Ops.
Yeah, no, I
because
wasn't.
that was because I know I was always interested in playing Nazi zombies with more modern weaponry.
Right.
But after that, it's like, not much has changed. It's
Yeah.
kind of the same shit.
Yeah, but like, yeah, because it did define it. I remember, like, I'm sure for you guys as well. Whenever a new Call of Duty would come out, we obviously were in school. You'd have like half the class out because they took the day off just so they could play Call of Duty online or something.
Do you know I didn't experience that, but that's hilarious.
I
Yeah.
didn't experience that either because, like,
That was okay. Well, that was my generation.
anyone that had like COD 4, for example, they played it like a year or two before I ever got a chance because it was out on the 360.
Oh yeah, yeah.
PS3 version then was a port, and it came out much later, obviously, a whole year and a bit later. So I was very late to the game when playing Call of Duty.
I think
like when they were in Black
oh,
Ops,
the future ones,
Black Ops 2, like when all those ones came out, like is like you have a few people missing and teachers like, oh, where are they? And just like
I think I
one
could have been
lad-
in college at that point though. So
I think whenever half my class were out, it was never for video games. I have to be honest with you. I just think they were.
I don't know. There definitely was people missing when GTA 4 came out. That I remember.
Yeah.
When GTA 4 came out, there was definitely people missing.
For about a year.
I do remember like people skipping just to go down and pick it up.
Yeah.
But I Call of Duty, like, it was always, I never got the experience with Modern Warfare, but which World at War, Modern Warfare 2, and Black Ops, there was always a big like deal when those games were coming out.
Yeah.
And there was midnight launches. You would have people queuing up. There would be guys like our local GameStop would hire guys to kind of be there, like in airsoft guns and material or military like equipment and all that kind of stuff, and really go all out in launching this game. And it was really, really great. And we never got that after that.
Well, I always thought that like
I think all of its features did overstay its welcome, and it kind of just
I think so
died out. Like, because a lot of them are not really they're selling out. Like, most people are buying them for the multiplayer.
Well, I don't know what's about well, yeah, maybe it's just that interest swayed to other games where the physical store wasn't the area to you can't go in and buy Fortnite, can you?
No, that's true.
Not really.
Yep.
So
I always thought that even though I think Modern Warfare 1 is the better game, I prefer it personally. It's my favorite first person shooter. Some of that is nostalgia. It is because of that it opened my kind of eyes up to what a first person shooter could be. But I do think Modern Warfare 2 was like the best time to be a Call of Duty fan. Like that era of Call of Duty was like the height of the excitement, I think. For me personally.
Yeah, well, I would say the four of them, like.
Oh, the first three Modern Warfares and Black Ops?
not Modern Warfare 3, definitely.
Modern Warfare 3 was the downfall, wasn't it?
Not Modern Warfare 3. No, Modern Warfare, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, and Black Ops.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, those four
because
games.
The way World at War ties into Black Ops is neat. That's really good.
I really enjoyed Black Ops.
Black Ops is good. Black Ops is a really good.
Give Black Ops an honorable mention. Shut up there. I like Black Ops. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good story. But I liked even the start with the weird numbers on the screens and the interrogation thing. It was it was cool. It was weird and I think kind of sci-fi.
It was very thematic for the era that it's based in.
Yeah.
Obviously, at that time, there would have been a lot of, illegal kind of experimentation on people doing psychological
conspiracy
warfare
theories and that kind of stuff.
So it was good. It was good, and I like the way he imagined this fucking guy from World War II with him the whole time.
Yeah, he had a beautiful mind going on, Yeah. Because I haven't seen that movie. Watch that.
It's basically that. It's well worth playing, actually.
I like for the menu though. Not only are you able to look around and stuff, you can get out of the chair and go play Zork. If you're a big fan of Zork.
Yeah, you could. I got when we figured that out, and that was the great thing about it. Like no one really knew that.
No, they never said that. They never showed off, which is
So then, like when you're playing that on the computer, you're kind of like, what the hell is this? And you try a few things, and next minute you're playing this text-based RPG. And I remember like being at Brian's actually. This is weird actually because I was just chatting to another friend talking about he was he's off for a week and he wanted a loan of a DualShock, so I gave him one because he's gonna play co-op Call of Duty
Very
on his week off. And we were reminiscing about being at Brian's like till fucking 4 a.m. playing what would have been Nazi Zombies and Spec Ops from Modern Warfare 2. But I remember specifically that it's like being in the chair and getting out of the chair and trying to get far. Like we were so determined to beat this Zork game. And we're trying to figure out what are the commands and what could we do. But you could unlock a zombie mode through that as well, wasn't it?
well, yes, Dead Ops Arcade, where it was a top-down shooter. I loved that one. Not
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
people like
nuts.
that. I preferred
That's
that to the
nuts.
other ones because
I've never played that. I've never played that.
You can do 4
Why
player.
isn't that one like
Because no one liked it. It wasn't well received.
Black Ops wasn't? Really?
I really like
Black Ops? No, Black.
Yeah, like why
Wait.
isn't Black Ops remastered? Like where's
Do
World
that
at
one.
War
Do that
and
one
Black
next.
Ops?
Do that one next.
I don't know.
For me, it goes Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops. That's it. That's yeah. And then I'm done with Call of Duty. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I remember playing Black Ops, and you know when you're like in the trench, and you see, and Victor Reznov is in the trench with you, and he's like
Yeah.
shredded. I remember playing it, kind of going to myself, he's not here, is he? He's not.
You see,
he's
I
not-
didn't see that at all because
I-
I think it's because I normally would be quite good at picking up on twists or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just based on the kind of stuff I watch and the stuff I'm interested in. And I don't get disappointed if I find it early. Usually it's like now I hope it's that. And then if it is that, I go, yes! Because it makes me more interested. But I think it's because, like, it's a Call of Duty game. I wasn't expecting anything in any way
Yeah.
twisty that way. So in that sense, I was just along for the ride. And I just sort of was like, yeah, cool, shooty. Yeah, he's my friend from the gulag, whatever. So when the twist came, I was utterly blown away by that. Even though it's not the most mind-bending twist ever, it's because of the genre it's set in.
Yeah, I
That's
would have
what-
loved to see more of them exploring because it's almost like the way Star Wars is done at the moment, where
Right.
you're like, okay, so the first three, it's a kind of a typical fantasy fairy tale set in space, and then the Mandalorian is like a western, and then like the prequel trilogy is like this fucking diplomatic warfare kind of movie, and
Yeah, it's the Cold War, pretty much.
like the Call of Duty kind of did that a little bit with Modern Warfare being more of a Ridley Scott action movie, kind of like Black Hawk Down, like what's it called? What's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio called?
Oh,
The Aviator?
No, not Aviator.
No. Down in
Body of
Blood-
Lies.
Body of
Oh,
Lies.
Body of
Oh,
Lies,
Body
yeah.
of Lies.
Yeah.
It's got that kind of feel to it.
yeah.
Modern Warfare 2 is definitely more along the lines of like a Michael Bay
Michael
kind
Bay,
of
Bad
action.
Boys sort of
yeah.
Transformers thing.
And and then you're right. Black Ops is a beautiful mind.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool to see each game look at the era it's in and base it on like a
particular
type-
director or a particular
a
film.
director or film style that isn't normally applied to first person, but instead like they just lost it then after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got weird.
Well,
Especially the whole advanced warfare shit and all that, all these future war shit, and you're just like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
What's
because
going on?
I would agree. Like I was really interested in playing the World War II one, and I got a little bit into it, but it should have gone back to being that style of game, and
Yep.
instead it was trying
looking
to
at
do,
Saving Private Ryan or something like that.
yeah, instead it was trying to do much more modern. Like I just don't think I haven't seen a modern film based in World War II that works for me. Like Dunkirk doesn't work for me. anything like what's it called, the fucking what's the one, Pearl Harbor definitely doesn't work for me. You know,
Right.
whereas something like 1911, okay, there is something that they could have, or 1917, sorry.
Oh, 1917 was so
like
good.
there's a take they could have kind of done.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes the Call of Duty games, the good ones, like really special. And so, yeah, I think when people think about what they really love about them, they're kind of looking on a very, like, on a single level. It's like, oh, I love that mode or whatever, but they probably just don't realize there's probably a lot more in there artistically that you don't realize that makes that game special.
Well, what I am curious as to why Modern Warfare, the first one, would be your favorite game. Two is. I've kind of said why it was mine, but I never really heard, like, it's great, I love it, but I never actually heard why it was.
You kind of said like your man. Let me just ask you this now. Let me just ask you this now. Let me just.
And here's how the podcast host. Or I could go Howard Stern on it. So you fucking tell me what you fucking did. And then as you tried to tell me, I go, so you're in your house and you fucking see this guy, right? He's a fucking asshole. Tell me more. You're just like, I will
if you let me speak.
But that's just American hosts. They're all just like that. Yeah, like if you get
can't say
all
that.
of them. Okay, a lot of them are. Like if you get like Jimmy Fallon.
All Howard Sterns are like that, Chris.
Yeah.
No, but
one of them.
If you get Jimmy Fallon, like, you know what I mean, it's just like, oh, hello, ha ha ha, yeah, ha ha. It's like, all right, Jimmy, calm down. Or you get Ellen DeGeneres fucking talks over everybody. It's like they a lot of American presenters are quite.
I would say just a lot of.
They're very vocal.
Yeah.
Do.
They love to talk, don't they?
A lot of British ones do too, you know.
Yeah, not Graham Norton. Graham Norton's glass.
Graham Norton's very good.
British.
Yeah, he's not.
He's not British.
Yeah, he's not. You can fame him all you want, but he's not.
Well, he's over in England. That foreign piece of land that doesn't belong. Not with anybody. Anyway, back to the question. Let's not talk about politics. But moving on, let's talk about video game politics.
Yeah.
I would say that similar to what you were saying, Chris, is that I played some first-person shooter games, but there just wasn't really a compelling reason to keep playing them and like play through and see through the end. Because even the mundane tasks, or what felt like mundane tasks in Modern Warfare, a lot of them kind of ended with really cool moments. Like, standout missions for me would be the bit where you're meeting up with the Russians. You're trying to get Nikolai,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And you're doing just the usual, like snipe from the hill and, use your grenades on these guys and let's go shoot over here and shoot them guys. But then you end it with everyone cutting the power, putting on your night vision. And there's like that moment of being kind of in control, like being ridiculously powerful, nearly.
Yeah.
And then there's like more kind of shooting, silly stuff. And you're now in an AC-130. You're given that moment of ridiculous control and being stupidly powerful. And I think the fact that it continuously does that and then removes it at a moment, like, the nuke going off, for example.
Yeah.
And you have to try and crawl through that. And it just, like, it elevates things on a cinematic level, but also brings it back down to reality. I think that's what's really good about it.
And actually, it raised an interesting point with all those little, like, they pace it incredibly well. Because you're right, if you're just shooting all the time, that can get old fast. But by putting in those moments throughout, like a moment of just crawling, or a moment of now you've got the goggles on and you're silently shooting people, or whatever it is, if it paces the game, so the next time you get a shootout, it doesn't feel old. It's just like, it's been a while since I've done this, so let me do this now. And then
and I think a lot as well of, like, I think if anyone hasn't played that game and they decided to go back and play it now, based on what we're saying, they probably wouldn't get much out of it. They probably think, what are these guys on about? Like, this is actually really dull. But that's only because so many games that you're used to now owe so much to Modern Warfare.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
so much.
It paved the way.
After that, like, even the way E3 was presented was based around now everything has to be like the cinematic trailer with fucking big dropping basses. Ooh.
Well, like, do you remember the Modern Warfare 2 reveal when you were on the snowy mountain and you look up and you realize the guy which is Soap and he has become Price to you and you're just like, this is the best thing ever.
Yes,
that was totally awesome.
Eric, why is Modern Warfare your favorite first-person shooter? Before I finish up this,
I'm not gonna lie, right? So, as opposed to all the other episodes, Chris, this time I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it.
So at first, when I was a much younger chap, it probably was because you both told me it was amazing. So I was like,
oh, it's amazing,
cool.
Eric.
It's amazing because I don't know if I actually played any other first-person shooters before that. I actually think that was the first one I ever did. Because I can't remember one. Because I just remember you telling me, Chris, first person shooter games are shit. You get stuck on things. I was like, yeah, first person shooter games are shit. I never played Call of Duty. And he was like, oh, this is so awesome. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I don't know why I pulled my hair at that time too, but yeah, it's awesome. So it's only when I looking back at it when I replayed it when it was remastered, where it wasn't even remastered, it was remade, fucking graphically amazing, and having a greater knowledge of today's world makes it so much better because it's so believable. It's not trying to be over the top. It's not trying to be something that it isn't. It's just looking at today's world, or at least today's world at that time, and going, that's what it is. We'll just do that. So no Russian invasion, no secret brainwashing to create the JFK assassination or any of that sort of stuff. Like no exoskeleton suits and no Nazi zombies and no nothing. They weren't going to space to fight Jon Snow. All right, they weren't doing any of that. They were just going, okay, there's a war in the Middle East. We're going to do that. And sometimes military leaders do a coup. So let's introduce that. And then you have not even just the Russians. You have a terrorist who just have terrorist arms dealer who happens to be Russian and has his own army, as most terrorists do.
We'll get there.
I just remembered.
We'll get there. Sorry.
I was so
Lead up to it. It's going to be the best part of the game anyway, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. So that sort of stuff. And then even when a nuke goes off, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Showing you it, you're dying from the radiation. You hear the echoes of children playing in the playground, because children played there and all that sort of stuff. So it's that sort of grounding it that makes everything seem bigger and better, because they're not trying to be something huge. They're just showing you the world for what it is, or at least the world of warfare, what it is and everything. And again, but then taking things from Ridley Scott and being a little bit more cinematic, having the tanker, like the SAS missions are obviously very much more
or even
cinematic.
like that slow motion handing you the gun at the end.
Yeah, it's very it's a very Mission Impossible kind of ending, but it's not trying to be ridiculous. It's just this is
satisfying. I've earned this. Yeah.
When you're going, when you're escaping on the Jeep and you're shooting, reminds you.
What's great about that as well, though,
Gear Solid when you're on the Jeep.
It lends itself so well to gameplay.
Yeah.
Because, it's not just that, it's a slow-mo for, fucking cinematic reasons. It's slow motion to let you as the player know, okay, in the next couple of seconds, we need you to pick up this gun, point it at that dude, and let it rip, okay? And that's your timer, basically, is it slowly getting to you. And you as the player then acknowledge your task without anyone telling you what the objective is.
Yeah.
The whole point is building up to that moment, and here you are, there's the countdown, pick it up, and it gives you that moment of being able to aim correctly. So using slow motion as a game mechanic, as almost a tutorial, or at least telling you what the objective is just genius.
Yeah, and make it instinctive. And it's like you've not only in doing that instructed what you want to happen, but you've given it a cinematic quality. You've given the final, the villain of the game, a really good send off.
Yeah.
And you've kind of finalized this character's story, which is essentially in the beginning of the game, he was sort of mocked about his name and like even like about the shooting. It's like, oh, I'm sure you could do better than that, you know, in the shooting range. And you can imagine that he was treated as the rookie the whole way through, and in the end, he's entrusted with finishing the mission, and he does. You know, it's like that's so good. It's so good. But the best part of the game has to be the Chernobyl sequence.
Flashback, yeah.
Has
Fucking
to be.
hell.
And that's
What
another
a moment
where they break up the pacing. Now you're going to do ghillie suit, stealth, infiltration of Chernobyl. You know, seeing the results of what nuclear warfare does, because essentially this game is about, you know, in the end it does have a big ludicrous James Bond plot of launching nukes, and you do have to stop that. Which I have nothing against. I'm cool with that. I'm a big fan of James Bond, and it is better when you feel like there's stakes at the end of a story. I feel, you know, there is something to stop.
Yeah, it's still taking bullet points from films. Yeah, but at least they don't go, oh yeah, and then the nukes actually hit and blah blah blah, and now you have to now you're magically walking through like a nuclear wasteland and you're fine or something. Like your rad meter is going up and you got to get some rad away and now you're fine all of a sudden. Like they're not taking into account any of that bull crap. Like if a nuke, even if one nuke hits, that's like a mission failure essentially to your commanders. Like so. Yeah.
But doing that Chernobyl mission, it's not only important for what's to come. Like this is what the world look like if you fail, and it's something that has happened. But also using that as a story to not only like Price has been your favorite character this whole game, and now you're getting a Price flashback of when he was Soap and he had his own Price, which is Captain Macmillan, and also like that whole thing of like him taking on. Or he's the one that took off Zakayev's arm, you know, again, making him like a James Bond villain. He's got a memorable feature. But this whole thing of like, they have a rivalry that goes back years. That's the cinematic quality that the game has, you know? It's like, I love when he hears the name on the phone and he shoots his son, I think, isn't it?
No,
he shoots Al-Assad.
Shoots the military coup.
Who leader. You believe is the actual villain. And then who was it, sir? Zakayev. Imran. Zakayev, and then you just get the flashback. It's so fucking good. It's so good.
It's like that creates such a great moment of tension as well.
Yeah,
because you have to follow your man's instructions. Again, it's like it gives you that opportunity to be a kind of a badass sniper in a ghillie suit.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you don't follow his instructions, things can kind of go arseways. But the bit where you have to like crawl under like
tanks and stuff.
Tanks, and then there's an entire infantry walking, and you have to hide in the grass and not move at all as they walk past you. Like it really elevates your fucking. Although it's all scripted. But it's done so well.
I get caught at that bit so many times. Like at one point I was lying there,
get caught,
and then a tank just drove over me, and I died. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was even lying there, and I was like, and there was a guy like walking right by me, and I was like, ooh, this is so tense and cinematic. But then he must have clipped my foot or something. I was like, hey, who's there? And then they shot me in the back, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
But I actually think that mission kind of highlights more. So even though that one is set kind of in the past, like a set a few years before, that one really highlights more so what modern warfare is, which is
just working in the shadows and no one really knows what you're doing.
Yeah, it's no longer people like all running at each other as an army. It is from the it's from the shadows now, you know. I know that's a line from like the more recent James Bond movies as well, you know. But But that's
why I always felt like it's like I think the story and stakes are cooler in Modern Warfare 2.
You're right. Yeah.
But
it is silly.
The set pieces and like the fucking Olympus Has Fallen kind of fucking storyline and setting is just absolutely ridiculous. And it's like in a modern warfare wouldn't be this. This is not what a modern warfare would be.
No, of course not. I agree. Like I said it earlier, it's silly as fuck, but it's a very enjoyable game. You know that way? Like, but you're right. It's not modern warfare at all. It's absolutely taking the piss. But I think we're just kind of coming up to time there now. But I actually surprised. I didn't know Call of Duty 4 was going to be. I kind of thought it would be Adam's. I didn't know it was going to be yours, Eric's. But
Well, it was that or Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 based on
Yeah.
Shepard, and then you take out the knife, and
It's a cool moment. It's
to be
such a
honest-
cool moment.
and
be honest,
and then saving
both.
Price,
Yeah.
Price from the Gulag, and it's like, oh, he's back. That's
that
good.
was so good. And yeah, they're just calling prisoner something or other, aren't they? And you don't know who
Yeah.
it is. And when you get there, you're like, yeah, it's so
'cause you
good.
thought he was dead the whole time. Yeah.
Good.
Someone should just go. Like, they're both remastered. Go play them both. They're fantastic. If you haven't played them, play them both. They're really
Yeah,
like, if you're into first-person shooters, they are. You have them to thank for the ones you're playing today if you really like the ones you're playing today. I'm also very curious. I kind of was impressed. I said it before. I was impressed by the presentation beforehand of Black Ops Cold War. I genuinely don't know what it's like. So if somebody has played it, please get in touch to let me know if it's good and should I get it. That's what I'd love. So if you're watching us on YouTube, jump down into the comments. Let us know if we should try out Black Ops Cold War. And also, if you've played the Modern Warfare games, what do you think of them? And what's your favorite first-person shooter? Also, if you've enjoyed us, maybe give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe and share it with your friends. We'd really, really appreciate that. And we'd appreciate the support. If this is on audio platforms, get in touch on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. Again, let us know, should we try, if there's any first-person shooters we should try, let us know. And whichever one is your personal favorite, let us know what it is and why that's your favorite.
And then we'll tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. And then we'll accept your death threats. Everything comes full circle. Thanks again for listening, everyone. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.